That was my premonition. I was like, what about Finn's mom? She's so sweet and age appropriate.
Hello, and welcome back to Rewatching Home Movies, a weekly watch-along podcast where three friends break down the 1999 animated series, Home Movies. My name is Tim, and I'm obsessed with home movies.
My name's Adele, and I'm a home movies newbie.
And my name's Marcin, and I've never seen home movies.
Home Movies Season 2, Episode 9, titled Class Trip.
Oh, I thought I wrote down my guess for what the episode title was going to be, and I put Field Trip, but it's Class Trip.
Close.
Original air date March 2nd, 2002 on Adult Swim, written by Brendan Small, Bill Broaddus, and cast, directed by Lauren Bouchard, and produced by Melissa Barton-Galsky. Synopsis for this episode: a class trip to a hotel proves a great opportunity for some on-location footage, which sounds like a great plan, until Paula is asked to chaperone.
So, off the bat, do you guys have any field trips that you were like, you had as a kid that you were like, this was the one?
The trip?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm trying to think. There was the Blue Man Group. That was really good.
You went to the Blue Man Group?
Hell yeah, dude.
As a field trip?
Hell yeah, dude. It was our 8th grade trip. We also went to Six Flags that year as well. Our 8th grade trips were pretty good.
Man, I wish I went to Catholic school.
No, you don't, dude.
No, I don't. I absolutely
No,
don't, but still.
Go for Blue Man Group, stay for religious trauma.
Yeah, that's made it all worth it in the end, eh?
I definitely recall we went to Chinatown for a field trip, and my buddy was like, hey, my mom's a chaperone, like, come with our group, like, be in our group. And I'm like, okay. And so we got split up into groups, and I was with my buddy and his mom. And the second we split away from all the other teachers, that dude's mom was like, who's got weed? And so we fucking got all baked and just walked around Chinatown. It was really fucking dope.
How old were you?
I was, I think, a freshman or sophomore, so I was probably like 15.
Damn.
I mean, like, cool mom, but also, like, we're kids. Like,
yeah,
going
she
to
should not have
China.
done that.
Yeah.
But, oh, yeah, hey, well, we're going to jump into that episode, but let's do that thing we do at the beginning first. Let's jump into the Creative Corner, shall we? The Creative Corner, of course, something creative we're producing, consuming, whatever that we want to put out to light. Creative Corner, doodly-doo, wants to go first.
Yeah, I can go first.
Okay.
So I have a coworker that I met at this job that I've had, and she's one of the like really nicest people I've ever met. She's super down to earth and loves talking about her art, and we love talking about creativity in general. And she has a band.
Nice.
And it's not so much like because she's coming out with a live album where she's doing they're just a jam band. They love jamming together. They love just like feeling the music and allowing it to happen. But something I really like about her and specifically the band is we talked about the name of the band. And as we discussed about religious trauma, I have a lot of it. And her band is called Whiskey for Jesus. But the conversation we had around it like made me get a lot more respect because she had struggled with alcoholism. Mm-hmm. And the reason that she was able to come out of that was because like she traded whiskey for Jesus. And something about that is that she doesn't believe in religion. Because of like obviously a lot of bad things in religion and the cult levels of what it could be. But she believes in what Jesus stood for, which was like being nice and kind to neighbors and just really trying to be a force of good in the world. And that's what she cares about. And that's what a lot of her music is. She's a wonderful like songwriter. She makes amazing, really down-to-earth, like soulful lyrics, and I just wanted to spotlight her stuff because she's a really good, talented writer, lyricist, but she's like, oh, I'm not that good in guitar. I'm like, yes, you are, but you're not like jamming out like Led Zeppelin or whatever. It's the lyrics, and lyrics are so really good, and she's writing a song for Season of the Curse too.
Nice.
And producing that. So I just wanted to give a spotlight for her because she's just such a creative and a really great person. I love Becca to death, and her music is really, really fun. I've seen her live a few times. Me and my partner Nick went and saw them live and in person at a fest, and just really fun, down-to-earth music with like a nice message about like community rather than, you know, institutional like religion.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to pinpoint that.
I really want to check that out. I think the representation that cultivates is Jesus' original message was to just love everybody, man. And like the fact that she makes music about that is pretty fucking dope. I gotta check that out.
Nice. Whiskey for Jesus.
Yeah.
Is this on Spotify?
Oh, most of the stuff is like on YouTube and Bandcamp and Instagram. She's gonna start putting it on Spotify and whatnot, but they're coming out with a live studio album. They're about to record that, and whenever it drops, I'll definitely like share it on all my social medias.
Yeah.
Yeah, find probably the best like avenue to get at their music, and we'll add it to Friends of the Pod Linktree.
Okay, absolutely.
For sure. And I was on the Linktree not too long ago. The fact that we have Friends of the Pod and the list is just growing and growing and growing. Like, I would love by the end of this podcast for that list to be so long.
Yeah, that would make me very happy.
We'll definitely add that to Friends of the Pod. So, hell yeah. Good creative corner.
Hell yeah.
Would you like to go next, or would you like me?
I'll go next.
Okay.
My creative corner this week is our Lord and Savior Stevie Nicks, and she made a song called The Lighthouse, which is a song essentially depicting her as a lighthouse for current times. She wrote this after Roe v. Wade was overturned, and it's a song about fighting the good fight and coming together as women and as people and just not letting the man get you down. And it's just a really good song. I cried the first time I listened to it, and obviously the underlying message, I don't need to harp on it because we all know it. So that's going to be my main creative corner today, is just go listen to that song. It's good.
Dude, Stevie Nicks is
Master
so amazing.
Masterclass.
I didn't know Stevie Nicks was still making music. Like
yeah.
I haven't listened to a lot of like the classic music, the artists that people want you to listen to forever. So I didn't even know Stevie Nicks was still making music. So that's insane. Very important that around that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. She got me to watch one season of American Horror Story, because she was in it, and I was like, okay, let's do it. If I could have just clipped the parts that she was in and watched those and been like, all right, cool, we're done here.
Yeah. Did I make you watch that? I don't think so.
No, Stevie Nicks did.
Oh, I was like, I don't remember being like, you have to watch Coven.
No. American Horror Story for me was always, I would watch a couple episodes, fall off immensely, get frustrated, and then be like, this show would never get me again. And then the next season, I'm like, okay, let's do it. And then it's just like a rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
But I think by the time that season came out, because that was Coven, I was so over it. And then someone's like, no, Stevie Nicks is in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Stevie Nicks was definitely the best part of that series in general.
That show was like, man, this episode sucks so much. Let's just break into a Stevie Nicks music video.
Stevie will save this.
Yeah, exactly.
American Horror Story was the way that you encapsulated that whole show is just the concept's really cool, and then you fall off of it immediately and you realize it's not that good, and the memes are better than anything else. I wanted to watch every single season because the concept always made me like enjoy the idea, like Carnival, Coven, like all of these different ones, and it just always falls apart so quickly.
Yeah.
You have such hope for it, and then you just like stick with it, and then it just falls flat.
Dude, is it me, or does it always hit a point in the season where you're like, this is where you should have ended it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, this was it. This was the ending. Everything was wrapped up, and then they're like, and then
aliens are now a thing.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here. Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, American Horror Story is not my creative.
No.
I will say that right the fuck right now. But yeah, no, Stevie Nicks, by all means, please go check out everything Stevie Nicks.
I pray to her every night.
Hell yeah. So I am going to wrap up this creative corner with mine. I'm going to do a podcast. I definitely used to, until a point pretty recently, I used to digest all kinds of podcasts, news, whatever. I don't think I'm going to do that anymore. I'm going to shift a little bit my podcast consumption to just stuff that makes me laugh, is a little more lighthearted. I think I'm going to get back into a few D&D podcasts. But one podcast that I've kind of been really in love with for a very long time is currently called Get Played. This podcast used to be under the name How Did This Get Played, which was kind of a sister podcast of the movie podcast How Did This Get Made? And when it originally came out, it's Nick Weiger from Doughboys, Heather Ann Campbell, who she's like a writer and she's done a bunch of stuff. She's very talented. And then they had like a sound engineer named Matt Apodaca, who's involved with a lot of podcasts, but he slowly became the unofficial like third host of this podcast. So, like I said, it used to be How Did This Get Played, where they would play crappy games every week. And then after like 4 years of that, they're like, oh my God, this fucking sucks. Like, they're all gamers and they're like, why are we torturing ourselves? So they shifted the podcast to just Get Played, and now they actually like play games they enjoy. They have guests on. I really like the podcast because the dynamic between the three is very, very good, and not like, oh, they get along great. Like, it's very good as in like they're not afraid to kind of go after each other and be like, really, that's the joke you're gonna tell. And it's really fun. But yeah, Get Played. It's a weekly podcast. Highly recommend it. It's very video game heavy. But sometimes they have episodes, they call it tiers, like a tier list, but they call it Tiers of the Kingdom, where they'll do like Tears of the Kingdom retro game systems. And then they'll just sit there the whole episode and be like, all right, original NES, where you got it? AS, where are we going with it? And so it's just, listening to three people just kind of goof around and enjoy video games. It's great escapism, and they're very funny. And yeah, I highly recommend it. The podcast Get Played literally wherever you get your podcasts.
I was going to say that kind of represents the shift as in cynicism in like YouTube videos where you have to watch a bad movie and tear it apart, cinema sins, playing video games just to like make fun of them. And I like that shift of, no, let's just have a good time now.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about a lot of reviewers on the internet. I'm so sick of watching some people just tear apart something and like just have hate towards this thing. I want them to watch it and talk about good things about it. That's why I like Chris Stuckman as a movie reviewer, because he's like, I don't want to tear shit apart anymore. It's not even fun. I really appreciate that side.
Yeah, and the podcast is three people who love podcasting and love video games, and they got to a point where they're like, why are we doing two things we love to do something that we hate? You know what? It doesn't make any sense. So yeah, they kind of shifted, and now it's just a video game podcast, and I really like their dynamic. There you go. All right, are we ready to jump into this episode?
I very much am.
Well, this episode, this has got to be, what, like 5 in a row that it starts in movie?
Oh, I think it's 6 at
Is
this
it
point.
6?
Yeah.
I had to pause it right here. So we are in a den.
I was wondering what the name was.
It appears to be Hiffy Biffy Ruffington the Third.
I read it as Huffy Buffy Ruffington.
Huffy Buffy Ruffington the Third. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Huffy Buffy Ruffington the Third.
Huffy Buffy Ruffington. Say that 5 times fast.
And the caricature drawn out here, this is Jason's character.
It sure is.
So,
Me, Ollie, Nixon.
Jason was looking suave in this scene.
yes, he was.
He looked like a vampire.
So we have a grandfather clock, the stuffed bear head, the portrait of Huffy Buffy
Huffy Buffy
Ricky Ticky
Ruffington.
Tabby.
the Third, and a safe. So we see Melissa's character trying to break into the safe. We hear her dad calling down to ask what she's doing in the den. And she says, I'll be just a minute. I'm cooking. And he says, in the den? And she said, I'm sorry, I'm reading. And he said, in the den? And she said, yes, I like to read and think in here. And he said one third time, in the den?
This is the earworm.
I love it.
I have a question.
Yes.
So there's a little doodle next to this Huffy Buffy Ruffington the Third, where
Yes.
it's me, Allie, and Nixon.
That's what it looks like, yeah.
Who is Allie and who is Nixon?
That is a great... I don't know who me is. If I'm being
I don't
honest.
know who I am.
None of us know.
At one point, she drops her flashlight, and then it says property of Q and D. And
Q of D.
yeah, I don't
We
know.
find
that.
this out later. This is her. She is the secret alias. She is the international diamond thief, the queen of diamonds.
The Queen of D.
The queen of D lights.
So that was when this episode started. Immediately, I thought it was just for the audience. We didn't turn on the audio. We forgot to, and it just started playing. And I was like, "Oh, it's a silent film. I see." It starts with the grandfather clock, and then it's moving around like a flashlight.
Yeah, we definitely thought it was a choice, and it was me forgetting to plug the audio cord in.
But it opened so smoothly. Like I was waiting for it
yeah.
to like zoom into the TV, and it just started moving the flashlight around. Very cool.
Yeah. Well, Melissa gets the safe open, and she proceeds to steal the quote-unquote diamonds out of her father's safe. The diamonds were just a bowl of ice cubes.
Yeah, and a gnome.
So, yep, and we had the golden gnome also in the safe.
I was, because this is the first time I saw the gnome, and I was like, oh, the gnome. And then I thought, like, did we find a gnome in the last episode?
I don't think we did.
No, but I think there's been a few episodes where we didn't see a gnome at all.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, in the Impressions episode where Brendan is pretending to be Jason at the country club, there was like 5 gnomes.
Yeah.
So, yeah. They reached their gnome limit. They could put it over into the next one.
Exactly.
Interesting. Because the gnome right there was diamond encrusted in gold.
It really was. And she didn't take it. She left it. She's apparently only after the diamonds. So almost in like a soliloquy, like a monologue, she's like apologizing to her father for stealing his diamonds. And that's when he comes down and he's like, oh, are you talking to me, dear? He turns the light on and she's seemingly like, oh, I'm busted. So she tells him, like, go to bed. And he tells her, I'll walk you upstairs. And then he's like, what's in the bag? She's like, nothing. And he's like, okay, I'm very tired.
I wish dads were like that.
Right? He's then like, well, let me just first check on my diamonds. And Melissa's character is like, why? And he's like, good point. Let's go to bed.
I love the way the camera's zooming onto her face in shock and the music was rising.
Yeah, the music swells each time. So then he asks if that's her flashlight sitting on the floor in front of the safe. And she's like, what? No. And that's when it shows the flashlight and says property of Q of D. So yeah, that's Queen of Diamonds. She's like, what? No. And he's like, okay, let's go to bed. So at that point, Brendan yells cut. And Brendan is like, that was great. And asks how it felt. And Jason's like, it felt great. And Melissa agreed. So Brendan's like, okay, well, when we shoot on location, this movie's going to be incredible. He asks them if they're ready for the field trip and if they have their permission slips. Jason takes out his and points at it. It is laminated. So, of course, I paused on Jason's permission slip. First of all, his finger is covering it says Jason, and then his finger's kind of covering the last initial, but it looks like an S. But we know Jason's last name starts with P.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe just animation goof. So, yeah, his finger is kind of covering the last thing.
Could it potentially be a middle name initial, the S?
I guess it could be.
Yeah.
Or it could be like, you know how they have the J for junior and he's S for senior, so he's the first.
Which would mean he'd have a son. You can't be a senior until you have a son.
Well, I mean, they just don't have the title yet.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
No. It says he's 3'1". Now, on the side, it's got his medical history, and I like this because we've got a couple callbacks on this. His medical history is cooties, measles, split personality,
Hell yes.
and
Lice?
cradle cap.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, God,
No
the
lice,
fucking cradle cap was so disgusting.
Here's a question. Jason isn't in their class, so why is he on the class trip?
Oh, shit. You're right.
I know.
when it shows the class that Brendan and Melissa are in with Mr. Lynch, yeah, Jason's traditionally not there. I think this is a all grade field trip, and maybe just Mr. Lynch and one chaperone are in charge of the students.
Yeah.
Because I don't necessarily recall seeing like Fenton, for example, in the class either. I think this is like
true.
the entire whatever 5th grade or whatever grade. So that's just kind of how I took it, but who knows?
I mean, Fenton's usually not in the class, too, so he was there.
Yeah. Or Walter and Perry in the class normally. I feel like they are.
I feel like I have seen them in the class.
Yeah.
I don't know if you caught this too, but on Jason's permission slip, it's like the classic Jason
Yeah.
with his hands over
cute.
his head.
You pointed out in the last episode, or the Country Club episode, that Brendan was impersonating Jason and then did that.
Yeah.
And I didn't notice that was a thing that Jason did.
Yeah.
But
Well, yeah, Adele pointed it out when Jason was asking Brendan in Business and Pleasure to stay the night, he was doing that. It's like a nervous thing.
he did it like twice this episode.
Yeah.
Not even counting the permission slip picture.
Well, after I paused on the permission slip, Melissa is very hesitant and kind of giving pushback, saying they might get in trouble. And Brendan explains it's a hotel, and Brendan's like, people shoot movies in hotels all the time.
The fact that the whole class trip is them taking a tour of a hotel. When they first started talking about it, I was like, oh, they're doing like an overnight trip and they're just staying in a hotel. No, they're getting a tour of this random hotel in town.
Yep, basically.
Which I don't need to go to that trip.
No, what are you learning at that point?
Yeah.
well, how to open the toilet paper roll. And
yes. Yeah.
It's hard to, I want to do a Ken Adelberg impression so bad, but I don't know how to do it well.
Well, Brendan says getting the shots is all that really matters. And Melissa's like, is that some kind of pep talk? And this, I don't know if you clock this, dude. Jason, not paying attention at all.
No.
He is so impressed with the lamination of his permission slip. And that's when he finally chimes in like, yep, got a laminator at home. He even kind of like flicks his permission
It's
slip.
such like a little kid thing of just like, I'm just going to talk about what I want.
Yeah. I think at one point he's kind of like looking over at both of them talking and then looks back down at the permission slip. Like he doesn't give a, he's just very impressed with his lamination skills.
Yeah.
I clocked that because in British comedy, there's a thing about like stationery and people who really like stationery. And apparently the king of stationery is a laminator. So when he said he had a laminator at home, I was like, oh, these British people would love Jason. I also just want to say when Brendan said getting this shot is all that matters, I felt that. I was like, that's such a filmmaker thought. It's not even just like, no, I believe this. Getting this shot is going to make this movie. And that's all that matters. I don't care who dies. We're going for this.
Well, the next scene, we're in the school. We're in the teacher's lounge. And Coach McGurk is trying to fix the coffee machine. He gets a small shock at first. That's when Mr. Fink walks in and asks him, he tells him, I can't navigate through geography class without my caffeine co-pilot, and asks McGurk when it's going to be fixed. So Coach asks Fink if he knows anything about fixing it, and Fink is like, is it plugged in? At that point, he's like, yeah, beyond that, I can't help you. So at this point, Coach gets shocked like very badly. It's that classic cartoon of you see like the skeleton shock. He's got a metal plate in his head.
I didn't even notice that.
Did you see that?
No, I didn't clock that.
Does that ever
I
get
will
brought
pull it
up like later
I
in the
don't
show?
think so. But he 100%, not only did he have a metal plate in his head, I think there was something else going on too. Okay, so we got the metal plate.
Oh, we see his change in his pocket.
That's so funny. Okay, so we see the metal plate, we see his whistle, and we see some change in his pockets.
Damn.
Boom. Looks like a penny there, quarter, and a couple dimes there.
I want to know the... Oh my god, the sign behind him says chop class is no joke, and it's just a severed finger.
It says, Dear Johnny, Dear John.
Dear John, doing better in Arizona. Miss you a lot. Love, Eddie.
Oh my God.
You were trying to say Eddie's daddy.
Yeah. Holy shit.
That's crazy.
I've seen this episode probably 10 times. I have never noticed that. And the only reason we caught it was because we wanted to see the metal plate in McGurk's head.
Holy shit.
Oh
What a
my
great
God.
background check. Eddie is writing to McGurk.
Yeah.
That is so fucking crazy.
He forgives him for knocking out all his teeth. That's
Doing
sweet.
better in Arizona. Miss you a lot.
Love Eddie.
Watch McGurk wrote that.
I didn't want to say that, but that was my theory. I was like, I could turn this so quickly.
No way, dude. That's definitely from Eddie.
Yeah, that's his handwriting.
Holy shit.
What a great background catch. I'm surprised. Oh, hell yeah.
That's a scoop, baby.
We did it. Podcast over.
We made it.
So, yeah, McGurk gets extremely shocked, and that's when he kind of loses his shit and flips the coffee machine out the window. We hear it crash onto a car, and that's when Coach pops his head out the window, and he's like, oh, hello, Principal Plum. Explains to her the coffee machine was on the fritz, so I threw it on your car.
I thought he killed Principal Plum.
No. He does say sorry. He asks her if she can check to see if it's working, and then he's like, no? Okay.
She didn't say anything, so I thought it was going to be like, could you answer me, please?
My guess is they just didn't have Paula Plum, who voices Principal Plum. Probably just didn't have her that day.
That's fine.
So, yeah, that was just a one-sided conversation. So after that, we're at the small residence. Paul and Brendan appear to be watching a sitcom. This scene mirrors a lot. There was a scene last episode, and they're just kind of sitting on the couch, lounging, snacking, watching TV. Brendan makes a comment that he doesn't buy the sitcom because no one could be that dumb. And that's when Paula is like, oh, yeah, hey, Mr. Lynch called. And Brendan even says, my Mr. Lynch? And Paula's like, you don't own him. And Brendan's like, yes, I do. Why did my Mr. Lynch call? And Paula explains he called to ask if she wanted to be a supervisor on the class trip. Dude, Brendan's face immediately is like, oh, no. Brendan asks, well, what did he say when you told him no? And Paula says he said thank you. because I did not tell him no. I told him yes. And Brendan is like obviously disappointed. He's pushing back. He's like, no, you don't want to go. You've been to hotels plenty of times. And Paula's like, no, this is my duty as a parent. And Brendan is like, well, no, you don't have to help. That's why we pay taxes. And I think Paula says like, no, I'm a better citizen than that or something like that. And then he kind of, maybe in like a little Hail Mary, he's like, no, you don't want to be chasing 8-year-olds around. You're too old for that.
All that did was challenge her.
Exactly. Yeah. The part where he's like, my Mr. Lynch was like me watching Twin Peaks. That's going to be an earworm every time David Lynch pops up. But did you guys ever have your parents chaperone on field trips?
No, God, no. My dad always worked during the day, and then my mom, for a lot of my childhood, my mom was a bartender and worked like overnight. So she's out during the day. You know, she's just sleeping, and then my dad's at work, so... No, my parents have never chaperoned. The only thing that was close to that is my dad came into my school once to explain like what he does at his job, but that was about it.
Yeah. I saw Adele gave a look, so I was like...
Oh, my mom, the only time my mom ever signed up to be a chaperone was for, we were going to go to see the Nutcracker, and then she got sick, so my dad had to go.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was pissed.
And if you know my dad, that is like legitimately the worst situation you could possibly put him in.
Oh, no.
Oh, my God. He had to drive a van full of little kids to the Nutcracker. There was no bus. It was just parents taking kids in their cars. And my dad had to go and sit through the fucking Nutcracker. It was, looking back on it, it's hilarious.
Right. But
I was devastated.
Oh, as was your father.
Yeah, we were feeling each other's pain.
Was the car pure silent?
Pretty much.
Oh, my God. I would lose my mind.
Wow.
Oh. And that's what Brendan was worried about. I feel like Brendan, if he just is like, listen, Paula, I'm about to like go film some stuff in this hotel. I just need you to hold my bag. I feel like Paula would be like, got you. I got you.
Because then at least she would know where he was.
Yeah, because that was the only thing she was worried about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he probably should have to put her mind at ease. And knowing Paula's past, like she would have been like, yeah, 2 episodes ago, she's like, yeah, break into a country club. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
But I think Brendan is going with the better to beg for forgiveness than ask for permission kind of route with it. So,
which is always a solid way of thinking. Never backfires on anybody.
No, it actually works out great every time. Well, once Brendan is like, yeah, you're too old for that, Paula pushes back immediately. She's like, nope, I'm young and vibrant and I can chase 8-year-olds around. And she even points out, plus, I don't even have to worry about you, Jason, and Melissa. At that point, Brendan's like, we should pay more attention to the TV and less attention to talking.
There is something I've been wanting to bring up for the past couple of episodes whenever Paula has been around. Where the fuck is Josie? Where has she been?
Yeah, we haven't seen Josie.
She's not watching her. She's not following her around.
And I feel like this has come up in commentary before, and they're always like, if there's ever a point you don't see Josie, she's down for a nap. She's just been down for a nap for about 7-8 episodes now.
I feel like we just saw her briefly, because I remember being like, oh yeah, she's here too.
No, we were watching the Wild Thornberries last night. That's what it was.
Yeah, it was.
No, we did see her briefly in season 2 because I remember specifically season 2 Josie has a smaller head. Season 1 Josie had like a big old baby head, and I remember them saying in commentary, it was probably at the same point they say if you don't see her, she's probably down for a nap. But they're like, yeah, we shrunk her head and cut her volume a little bit.
Yeah, that's fair. I just, especially the dinner scene with Andrew and Linda, and then where the fuck is Josie? Like, this is a dinner scene.
Yeah, she wasn't at the dinner scene?
Yeah,
That's wild.
I'm wondering if she's just gonna be like gone for a while. I feel like she'll pop up at the last episode.
I mean, she does pop in here and there. There are definitely episodes coming up that I know for sure she's in. But
and she's adopted, right?
Correct, yes.
And we don't get that story that...
They touch on it very briefly.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Interesting.
Yep. So the next scene, we find ourselves at Bustin' Burger.
Bustin' make me feel good.
Coach is being interviewed by Jack, and I know his name is Jack because it's on his tie. Did you see every employee had their name on their tie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw Mel,
Goofy.
and Mel was a character.
Yeah, she was making eyes at the dude next to her. Was that Mike? I don't recall exactly.
Everyone was flirting at Bustin' Burger.
I mean, it's in the title.
You saw how McGurk got so flustered when
Yeah, he did.
got a little wink, and he's like,
Yeah.
ooh.
So, yeah, Coach is being interviewed by Jack. Jack asked Mr. McGurk to tell him something about himself. And Coach is like, yeah, can I just take a look at my resume, to just refresh my memory? He says he graduated USC, as it states here. And he said he fought in the Gulf War. Jack tells him, yeah, I went to UCLA myself. And Coach replies, yeah, that's a very good country. So weirdly enough, that Jack says, okay, I'm sold. You'll be the new night manager. But first, we just have to do a little background check.
See, I was convinced during this part that he had lost his job as a coach.
Yeah.
I thought that's what had happened. Right. I don't know if you heard me, but during that part, I was like, he's lost his job too?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's kind of wild that he didn't.
Yeah.
But it sounds like maybe because Principal Plum is very much aware of McGurk's anger issues.
I mean, he did get electrocuted because of faulty faculty equipment.
And so maybe she's like, you know what? You're not going to lose your job, but obviously you've got to pay for the damages to my car.
Yeah.
I mean, he even brings it up after they run the background check. McGurk tells him, he's like, I need $1,700 to pay for some car damage. He's like, yeah, I went a little mental the other day and I need $1,700 to pay for some car damage. Because, yeah, when Jack pulls up McGurk's background, he's like, Mr. McGurk, oh my gosh, this history of fines and arrests. He's like, drunken disorderly, just like going through the list. And says, yeah, it's a family restaurant, which is wild because, yeah, everybody in there is flirting and down bad, but it is a family restaurant, this Bustin' Burger is.
I didn't see any kids in there.
The kid that was drooling on McGurk.
Oh, that's
yeah,
right.
The baby.
That was Josie. I don't know what they looked like, so I know it wasn't Josie.
It was not Josie. But yeah, the baby was drooling on his arm when Jack was like, drunken disorderly. So Jack tells him, look, man, my hands, look, they're empty. Nothing I can do. It's out of my hands. He's like, I can't help you unless you want to order some food. And McGurk is like, okay.
You want some chicken wings? You like chicken wings? I like chicken wings too.
So the next scene, we're at Small Studios. Brendan explains there's a little bit of a monkey thrown into the mix.
Monkey.
Melissa asks, you mean monkey wrench? And Brendan's like, nope, it's the whole monkey. That's when he informs him that his mom will be a chaperone for the field trip. Melissa asks why, and Brendan explains that she is doing it as a favor for Mr. Lynch. Brendan goes on to explain that now they have to memorize their lines because they have even less time than originally thought. Jason chimes in and says he's not very good at memorizing lines, and Melissa actually kind of agrees and says same. She asks, do you know Mary had a little lamb? And Jason replies she did. And then Melissa goes on to explain that she still hasn't memorized that poem. So Brendan is like, look, we have to do this. We'll have one shot at each scene, and there's going to be adults everywhere, and we've got about 37 scenes to shoot. So Jason points out, like, that's a lot of scenes. And Brendan's like, well, maybe we'll cut some.
I love this so much. I felt it in my bones.
Jason recommends they cut the scene where Brendan is sleeping. And Brendan explains, well, that scene's important because we have the scene where I wake up. I like the part Jason is like, well, yeah, the scene with you on the bidet is funny, but unnecessary. And Brendan is kind of getting annoyed at this point and is like, we have to have some scenes in order to have a movie. The me falling asleep and then me waking up and then me on the bidet.
It's so real. It's so real. Like, I agree with Jason so wholeheartedly, but as a filmmaker, I've been there. It's like, oh yeah, we got a lot of scenes we got to get through. Mm-hmm. Well, why don't we cut this one? That's the most important one. Like, if you're standing in a corner, dog, we don't need this. What does this say?
Well, obviously the mentality is like we would rather have it than not.
Yeah.
You can cut it, yeah, but you can't create it if it's not there.
Right.
I love guerrilla filmmaking, and that is exactly what this is. You don't have a location that you don't have permission. Fucking just like go there, have a camera, and do what the fuck you can, and then get the fuck out of there.
Well, I think another part of guerrilla filmmaking, though, is also you got to be able to kind of move and pivot and change course with the situation you're given. Yeah. And it seems like Brendan's well aware that they now have a few hurdles to jump and is still kind of unwilling to cut some of these obviously unnecessary scenes.
He's also just not being very communicated to his cast and like being very like, listen, we're just going to have to go with it. But he's like, no, it'll all be fine. And so Melissa's scared out of her mind the entire time.
Yeah.
And Jason gets a part-time job for like a split second.
Yeah. I think from the jump, Melissa is like, we're going to get in trouble. I don't like this.
Yeah.
Melissa is, I mean, she gets good grades. She probably does not get in trouble very often.
Yeah, well, unless it's with McGurk.
Yeah. She's committed to it, but I think if Brendan was just a little bit more clear with her and try to like ease her anxieties of what's about to happen, because as someone who, I can't afford location sometimes, but like, hey, I live downtown, I can go steal some shots. Like stealing shots and guerrilla filmmaking, love that. You have to have the right team to do it. And if Melissa seems to be she's like, oh yeah, we're doing this. Like I'm here to do this thing.
She's definitely hesitant, but she's down. She's doing it. Yeah, for sure.
Have you guys ever seen that or heard of that one movie where they filmed exclusively in Disneyland, but like didn't tell anybody and just were stealing and guerrilla filmmaking?
Yeah, I've heard.
That's not the Florida Project, is it?
No, that's with Willem Dafoe. That's a beautiful film.
Because they do go to Disney World at some point in that.
Yeah, but in it's Escape from Disney World, I think it is, or Escape from Tomorrowland. Yeah, that's the one.
Thanks, Google.
But they filmed that entire movie in Disneyland without telling anybody, and they just had their actors there, and they just recorded and filmed it the entire time. It's not the greatest, but it's also a weird movie. It's a success in the fact that you filmed an entire movie in Disneyland.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard of this movie, and Disney was hesitant to try to do anything about it in fear of giving it even more publicity than it already has.
Yeah.
So I think it was one of those things where they're just like, we don't know nothing about that.
Exactly. I think that's the perfect success of guerrilla filmmaking.
Yeah.
And when I was a kid, I would have loved to have friends who were like, oh yeah, we're just going to run up to a hotel real quick and just like get all these shots and do little scams in order to get into a room.
Right.
Just so good little kid shit.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, this field trip was perfect. They're going through a hotel. They're not learning anything. It's not, It's the perfect field trip to kind of fuck off and film a movie.
Yes, this is the sweet life. Most of the time. I don't know if you got that, Tim.
I did not. Thank you. That's all right. So the next scene, we're at Galaxy Coffee. We got a little interview here with somebody.
I love coaching, I mean, I'm in it for the kids.
There's that animator from last
sometimes
episode.
I say to school, don't pay me, but they don't listen. But that's the kind of worker I am. I'm loyal, trustworthy, and noteworthy.
Well, your background check came through clean as a whistle, Mr. Small. Welcome to Galaxy Coffee.
Wow, thanks. That's great. Please call me Brendan.
So here's a question that I didn't think of until now.
Yes.
So in order to do background checks, you need to have that person's social security number, correct?
These days, yes, you do. 2002, I'm not sure how that worked.
Yeah. Well...
Yeah, it seemed like Jack at Bustin' Burger was able to do it through a laptop.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm not sure. I feel like you would need a little bit more than just a name. And how he's able to secure a job with an 8-year-old's name.
Yeah, because if you're doing a background check, even if you don't need the social security name, doesn't it tell you how old the person is? In the
you would think
check?
so. Yeah.
There's a few different things about that location, but as you were saying, McGurk probably just lifted Brendan's social security off of a field trip or form, or he's his teacher essentially.
Yeah.
That would be wild. I'm hoping it's just he had the ability to use his name and then that's all they searched for. But yeah, I don't know how that works. I think this is maybe a little plot hole we have to look past because it's just a
McGurk
cartoon.
I'll try my
reckless.
best.
I understand.
At the coffee shop, the Galaxy. Also, I just want to put the outfits. I love that.
I would go to this coffee shop.
Oh yeah, the outfits for Galaxy Coffee are dope.
McGurk looks like Buzz Lightyear, and I'm so happy for it.
Yes.
But the other thing, I'm not sure if you guys caught this, but those were the seats for Men in Black.
Were they?
Oh yeah, those
Nice.
are the little egg shapes that.
I didn't
Nice.
even notice that.
Well, and also as Adele points out, the same guy who's kind of drawing or whatever in the last episode, Therapy at the fancy restaurant, is also here at Galaxy Coffee. He also appears to be sketching or doing something. So the next scene, we have a school bus pulling up to the hotel, which is, so conveniently located right next door to Galaxy Coffee. Mr. Lynch and Paula get out of the bus. He gives her a list of kids and explains that the list is in order of, and Paula says, yeah, I see, it's alphabetical. You got Allison, Brendan. And Lynch says, no, actually, it's in order of most likely to run away.
Wait, was Brendan at the top of that list?
Second on
Allison.
the list.
Yep.
Second on the list. First on the list was Allison. Paula says, well, which one is Allison? And Mr. Lynch says, oh, she's the one across the street about to get into a cab.
I'm fairly certain that we have seen Allison in the background before.
Yes. Allison's character looks very familiar, so
Yeah.
I think she was a background. So she's got a name now. It's Allison, and guess what? She likes to run away.
Mr. Lynch is such a good teacher. Like, he's so responsible, and he's equitable. He's not like, this is the keep an eye on these people. I've known these people. I know what's going to happen.
He definitely helps her as much as he can and is simultaneously incredibly understanding when she misplaces a kid or three.
He brings up later in the episode about the first time he went on a field trip. It was just him at the aquarium, him and 42 other kids, and it's like nightmare. Nightmare. Oh, God, I could not imagine that.
Yeah. Allison is the one who is getting into the cab. Paula yells at her to come back over, and Allison takes a step and almost gets hit by a car. Mr. Lynch covers her face, and Paula's like, wait for the light. At this point, Paula asks why Brendan is the second name on the list, and he said he's the kind of kid you'll have to keep an eye on. And Paula's like, my own kid? I don't think so. And then simultaneously is like, where is Brendan? So at this point, everyone's favorite character, Fenton Muley, comes up and explains that he has to use the bathroom.
Ooh.
Paula tells him to hold on for just a minute, and he tells him, I can't. It's a bodily function. Bodily functions don't wait. So she says, okay, go inside, use the bathroom, hurry back. That's when Walter and Perry approach. Yay!
Yay!
Fenton, boo. Walter Perry, yay! Walter explains that Perry has seasickness.
I can see that.
Walter tells him, yeah, I explained we're on land, but he won't listen. I think Perry even says, land, sea, whatever. I get seasickness.
When Walter and Perry started chasing Fenton to the bathroom, I was like, yes, kill him. Kill him.
This whole episode, they were just fucking with Fenton the entire time, and I really appreciate it.
I wrote down, I only want to see Fenton in scenes with Walter and Perry.
Yeah.
Because he gets so annoyed by them so quickly.
I think since the party, they've figured out how to get under his skin.
Yeah.
And they just thrive there.
I just love the image of them like scheming together of how they're gonna fuck with Fenton that day.
Look at them. They're so mischievous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as they're following Fenton, Paula asks Mr. Lynch if he has Walter and Perry on his list because they're not on her list. And that's when Mr. Lynch explains, oh, I don't put them on either list. And Paula asks why, and Mr. Lynch is like, they never run away.
They're good guys.
This is how Mr. Lynch does well as a teacher. He knows his students.
Yeah.
So we get a quick flashback to Walter and Perry, and they're like, if you throw up, I'll throw up. And so they agree, and they say, okay, let's both throw up on the count of 3. So now we have the first scene on location. Melissa's character is approaching the hotel, and Jason is the bellhop. Jason's character asks Melissa's character, is she staying there for business or pleasure? And she responds, both. Jason responds, that would be pleasure or plisness.
I like pleasure.
I like blizness.
So Melissa asks if Mr. Hutchinson is checked in. The bellhop says yes. And Melissa says good. Jason asks if there will be anything else. Melissa says, no, I'm good. And Jason holds out his hand. Melissa very much gives him real money as a tip. And Jason's kind of like, hey, I got 6 kids at home. And she's like, yeah, that's all I can afford.
Tapped out.
So that's when Jason tells her, well, enjoy your stay at the Mystery Hotel.
Zoom in.
I love that. Brendan yells cut and tells them they need to move. Melissa asks for her money back and Jason says no. Paula calls for Brendan and asks what he's doing over there. He needs to stay with the group. And then Paula asks, where's Allison? And that's when Brendan points up and we can see Allison. I think she's on like the flagpole of the coffee shop next door.
Allison seems to be the definition of a flight risk.
Adrenaline junkie.
Oh, she's running for something.
Yeah.
What's she running from?
So as Paula is distracted telling Allison to get down, Melissa tells Brendan that they're in trouble and he's trying to like calm her nerves. Meanwhile, we see an actual hotel customer approach Jason with a bag and give him a tip. So Jason tells Melissa now they need to get into a room and Jason tells him, okay, well, first I need to take this bag upstairs. And that's when we have Jason dragging the bag upstairs. So the next scene, we're in the hotel again. Of course, Ken Adelberg is working at the hotel. That's, I think, his 5th job, 6th job.
I think it's his 6th at this point.
We should really keep a list up
Yeah.
because he was a flower dude.
Yeah, flower guy,
Movie
big brother, big sister.
No, his name was credited in one of the movies, so technically actor.
Yeah.
Yep.
Butcher.
Butcher, Big Brother, Big Sister.
Hotel owner.
Yep.
There was other ones I know.
Yeah.
He was in Paula's creative class.
Ah, yes.
Very briefly, yeah. So Ken gets around. So now he's explaining to everyone how he threw someone out of the hotel and asked if anyone had any questions. Fenton raises his hand and says, I want to see you throw somebody out.
I was like, oh, yes, here we go.
Well, Ken jokes that maybe he'll throw Fenton out. And Fenton demands once again that he throw somebody out. And Ken kind of gets in his face and explains it's not good when he throws somebody out. He doesn't like that side of business. He just does it because it's important for the other customers to feel safe. And Fenton's like, just throw out one person, please.
I wish he had thrown out Fenton.
I
thought that's where we were going.
Yeah.
Every time, especially when he's like, just please throw out one person, and I'll do it to prove to you.
So the next scene, we see a man leaving room 24. And Brendan is talking to like one of the cleaning staff, kind of nervously stammering and explaining that his parents left him. He's locked out of room 24. And if she could help him out by opening the room, that he'll be over there with his friends who are sick. So we see a quick scene of Ken Adelberg throwing Mr. Lynch out. And dude, Fenton's got a huge smile on his face.
Yeah.
Paula's even kind of giggling to herself.
Mr. Lynch is like, you're being a little, I get it, like you're being really rough right now.
Mr. Lynch is definitely playing along at first and then tells him like, yeah, you're holding on a little too tight. Now we've got Melissa's character knocking on door 24. It's so funny. Brendan's character answers the door and she tells him, I've got the diamonds. Now give me back the pictures, you blackmailer. And Brendan's character tells her, not so fast. And then she repeats, give me the pictures. And Brendan's character is like, why, that's funny. I enjoy a girl with a good sense of humor like you. And he's kind of rambling. It's so funny because it's kind of the POV of Melissa, right? And so when he opens the door, I think she's got the bag of diamonds in one hand and she's like pointing. And then when Brendan's like, that's pretty funny. I like a girl with a sense of humor. Like you see her just like slowly lower her hands down. And there's even her shadow is like on the door next to him. And you see her shadow of her like pointing and then just slowly like, hey. Brendan definitely seems like he's forgetting a lot of his lines. He's kind of all over the place with them. And that's when he yells, cut.
Melissa was talking about like, oh, I'm bad at memorizing my lines too, but she's really good at memorizing her lines. She has it down.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it's so funny too, because I think we'll see it in a later scene, but Brendan is having a really hard time. And then at one point there's like a pivot and now he just knows all of his lines and he's doing them like perfectly. And he's like, and then I did this and did, you know, and he hits everything. But yeah, for like a nice chunk of it, like he doesn't really. Melissa seems to be the only
professional,
consistent one.
She knows Jason's lines.
Yeah, she's so prepared. She knows Jason's lines too.
Oh, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
We got the next scene. We're at Galaxy Coffee. And it's Coach's first day. So he meets Clarice. So Clarice is voiced by a Valerie Kappa. She introduces herself and Coach introduces himself as Brendan. Clarice informs him, my boyfriend calls me Little Mama.
I wrote that down as my quote.
Same.
Coach says, that's cute. So he's like, all right, well, what's up, Clarice? And she's like, I'm here to train you, but not like in a health club. And Coach is like, yeah. That's what I figured you meant since we're in a coffee shop. And dude, Clarice just stares at him. Coach McGurk cracks a joke about the coffee maker and how he doesn't really get along with coffee machines. He points out to Clarice that she's just staring at him and she says, I know, my boyfriend says I stare. Coach asks her again to stop staring. And even at one point he's like, also you should blink because blinking is a sign that you are human.
I have a friend who is exactly like that.
Yeah?
She stares through your soul. And, like, we all talk about it, like, to her, like, and she loves it. She loves just intimidate because she has such a cold stare and goes right through you and you're talking to her and she just doesn't blink while she's talking to you. And she's got a smile while she's talking. And it's so intimidating.
Now we are back in room 24. Brendan's character is very badly explaining to Melissa's character, like, if your father gets the things, he'll do something quicker than a something. And Melissa's like, I don't care how many pictures you have of him. And Brendan's like, yeah, you'll run over the thing and you'll do stuff and I'll do stuff back and then there won't be any stuff left to do. And then Melissa's character is even like, yeah, I'm not going to steal for you anymore. And Brendan's character, like almost remembering, is like, oh, yeah, and I need you to steal from the hotel safe. And Melissa gets in his face and she's like, you don't scare me. I saw my fiance in the lobby, which means he's coming up here to save me. And that's when Brendan's character informs her, no, actually, he's not here to save you. He's here because he's having an affair with the maid.
Let's get him.
So Melissa's character is like, no, he's not. And Brendan's character is like, why do you think I chose this hotel? I don't know. Good rates, close to the airport. And he said, no, so you can see that your fiance is playing you for the fool.
The way that Brendan's plots go, there's like 16 different characters.
Yeah. So she says she doesn't believe him when he says, well, maybe you'll believe this. And he takes off his hat and mustache. He takes off his mustache and he's like, ouch. And it is revealed that it is Johnny, her fiance's identical twin brother. So we cut to a quick scene, and Ken Adelberg is in the middle of a sentence saying, and that's how you do that. Then he's going to show them how to turn down a bed if it ever asks you to do something. Fenton up. Yeah.
I just got that.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on that.
I think it's because most of the time you're just so concentrated on like, what is this man saying? Because Fenton even angrily is like, what did he just say? And Ken's like, that was a little humor, lighten up. And Fenton is like, I can barely understand what he is saying.
That was my quote, too. Yeah. I was like, I can't believe I'm agreeing with Fenton.
Yeah. So Walter and Perry have a quick little conversation about how they want to live in a hotel. And they're like, I want to live in a hotel. I want to be a hotel manager. I want to be a maitre d'. I want to be a bellhop. And I think one of them's like, I want to be a bell.
Yeah.
And that's when Fenton's like, shut up. Paula pops her head in again and is asked if anyone has seen Brendan. Mr. Lynch says he has not, but he remembers his first field trip when he was very nervous overseeing, was it 45, 22 kids?
I heard 42. I don't know if you wanted to like double check, but I heard 42.
22 to 42 kids. Oh, okay, then let's go 42. So overseeing 42 kids, he said he was so afraid he'd lose one. They were running all over the place. Paula asked Mr. Lynch, well, what happened? And he confesses, I lost some kids.
Honest to God, if you are in charge of 42 kids...
By yourself?
Yeah, I don't blame you.
We're back at Galaxy Coffee. Coach is trying to make a drink, but comments how it doesn't look right. It's all foam. And that's when Clarice tells him that he forgot the espresso. And Coach is like, why didn't you tell me? And she says, well, you got to learn for yourself. She then makes an offhanded comment about her and her girlfriend were born on the same day. And Coach McGurk cracks a joke like, oh, yeah, what day is that? D-Day? Clarice laughs, and she's like, you're funny. And McGurk even says, I know.
I'm a comedian.
Real quick, she said girlfriend, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I wrote that down as a question. I didn't know if there was a boyfriend, like, because she kept saying my boyfriend.
She has talked about her boyfriend who's in college. I believe this is girlfriend, like, you know,
friend
best
that's
friend.
A girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, damn, poly and gay?
In 2002?
Yeah. She tells McGurk, you're funny. My boyfriend could get really jealous of you. That's when Coach says, look, little mama, I'm here to do my time, make my money, and that's it. I couldn't possibly get involved with a coworker. That would be wrong. Besides, how old are you? And Clarice says 18, and he says, I could potentially get involved with a coworker.
We're just waiting for me to respond to this.
Listen, I thought it was funny because McGurk is stupid, but...
Yeah, I know. It just solidifies the fact that McGurk is a creep. If McGurk was in real life, like a real life human being, it would be on site, I feel.
Yes, the only reason we laugh at this is because McGurk is a caricature. Like you said, he is holding up a mirror to the face of people who actually talk and believe like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's very tough to be like, God, what a piece of shit, because you're like, yeah, that's what he is. That is exactly what that character is supposed to be.
Exactly.
And the fact that it's coming from a place of everyone, let's laugh at this, as opposed to like, no, this guy gets it.
Yeah. I have tried to avoid anything as far as home movies. I don't look up home movies I don't do this just because I don't want to get spoiled on anything.
Sure.
And with animation, if you find an image of something, you're like, oh God, what does this mean? I saw a picture of McGurk in that space outfit, and I got so excited thinking he was going to be part of a home movie where he was in a space outfit with...
That's adorable.
And now he's there, and I was like, it's a cool outfit, but I got a little disappointed. I wasn't going to see a home movie with McGurk.
Well, we're back in room 24. Melissa's character is asking why the blackmailer had her steal her father's diamonds worth $750 million. So Brendan does this really quick explanation where he's like, the owner of this hotel stole the hotel from my father when he was a young hotel guy. The papers prove it in a hotel safe, along with some diamonds. And Brendan's character explains that he knows who she is. She's the international thief known as the Queen of Diamonds. It's funny because Melissa's like, how do you know that? And Brendan's like, I don't know. But if you break into the safe and steal all this stuff, we can right away to South America or some other country. If you love me, what do you say? That's the point where Jason's character comes in, and Melissa exclaims, oh no, it's Mr. Shock, my father's very own private eye. He's been hiding in the bathroom and heard the whole thing. He must have followed me here to take the diamonds back and probably turn you into police. He's not a man to be reasoned with. And that's when Jason's like, I think you did some of my lines.
I felt like that was a big mouthful for Melissa to say.
Yeah. Well, it's at that point that the original occupants of room 24 begin to unlock the door. Brendan tells everyone to hide. Jason runs to the bathroom. Brendan and Melissa hide in the closet.
When they all started hiding and then we saw the people go in and we just started hearing noises of them moving, I was like, no. I thought something weird was going to happen.
Oh, no.
And they were just going to have to hide in the closet while it was happening.
I'm glad it didn't go down that road.
Oh, 100%. Especially when Melissa started freaking out. I can't do this. I can't do this.
No,
I can't do this.
that would be me, just running out screaming.
Yeah. Well, we have a quick scene of Ken Adelberg leading the field trip. He's showing the kids how to hang toilet paper, and Walter and Perry's like, Fenton's doing it wrong. Poor Fenton, doing it wrong.
Poor Fenton. Yeah, they're just fucking with him. I love it.
And Fenton's like, no, I'm not. Shut up. And so they keep drilling him, and finally he yells, shut up. It's just toilet paper. So they tell him to settle down, and that's when Fenton points out, look at Mr. Lynch. He's got toilet paper on his shoe. Mm-hmm. And everybody laughs at him.
See, this is the only time I can enjoy Fenton. I think they found the equation to make Fenton an enjoyable character.
Yeah.
Is when he's really, really uncomfortable by Walter and Perry.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's so funny because now that I'm thinking about it too, this is kind of a runner. Walter and Perry fucking with Fenton is a little bit of a runner.
That makes me so happy.
I look forward to it.
I hope Walter and Perry work for Dr. Lindenson or whatever his fucking name is.
We are back at room 24 with Brendan and Melissa hiding in the closet, Jason hiding in the bathroom. So let's see how this shakes out.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
We're gonna get in trouble.
Melissa, where's Jason?
Whoa. Excuse me, do you mind?
You can already see there's no TP.
Yeah.
Anymore. I gotta get out of here.
Me.
Hi there. Hi. And hello. Carry on.
Need more TP.
Need more TP.
See, there was the part with Jason. You can hear H. John Benjamin in the voices laughing at himself. He's like, whoa. What's going on here? Yeah. I don't know. I don't know why that was Jason's instinct to just be on the toilet. Whoa.
Yeah, who knows?
When you gotta go, you gotta go.
Right. Well, we're back. We see Ken Adelberg with the kids. He's lifting weights and counting them off. He gets to 50 and stops. And that's when Fenton tells him, actually, that was only 49. Adelberg tells him, nope, it's 50. You just didn't count the first one. And Fenton is like, nope, counted the first one. Still 49. Ken gets in his face and he's like, listen here, you little punk.
That was good.
See, I'm trying. I wish I could replicate it, but it just sounds so weird in my mouth.
Yeah, I get it. So Mr. Lynch is doing the plate weights, and it's one plate, and he is struggling. So he does one plate, and that's when Paula comes in again and asks if anyone has seen Brendan, Melissa, or Jason. I think you caught it at Walter and Perry on one exercise bike together. Mm-hmm. It's kind of cute.
They're just cute all around.
I love Walter and Perry, and I love Ken Adelberg now being the ones who are like, listen here, you little punk, just beating up on Fenton. Because later, when Ken's talking to Mr. Lynch and Paula, he's just giving him a little noogie the entire time.
That's exactly it. Yeah, it cuts to Ken and Mr. Lynch. Mr. Lynch says, oh boy. Ken's got Fenton in a headlock. He's giving him a noogie. And then Ken even says, don't worry, we lose kids all the time. So we are now in front of Galaxy Coffee with Brendan, Jason, and Melissa. Brendan is like, this is the perfect location to shoot the final scene. As always, Melissa is hesitant and says they should just go back to the hotel. And Brendan tells her it's fine. He's got to pee anyway. And Melissa tells him to hold his breath. Jason is like, I think that only works for hiccups. And Melissa's like, nope, it works for pee too.
It does not work for pee.
Well, you need to hold your breath longer.
So I pass out and then...
And you wake
then
up
piss yourself.
yeah, exactly.
See, it worked. So now we're inside Galaxy Coffee, and the kids realize that Coach McGurk is in there. Brendan is like, he's robbing the place. And Jason's like, roll camera. We see Coach giving somebody back change very rudely, and then is like, never come back. And Clarice is like, that's rude. You can't say that to customers. It hurts their feelings. And Coach is like, no, they paid with a 5. I know that guy has 2 singles. Like,
Me playing Supermarket Simulator.
dude, trading card game shop simulator, same thing. I'm like, why? Why are you giving me 100 for this? God damn. So that's when I think they all realize that Coach isn't robbing the place. He's working there, right? So the next customer comes up and she orders a double grande, half calf, single shot vanilla skim cappuccino for here. And that's when Brendan approaches and asks Coach McGurk what he's doing. Clarice is like, why did he just call you Coach McGurk? And McGurk explains he doesn't know that he's probably...
Radical.
Is that the R word that he used?
It's the 90s
That's the R word
word.
we're going to use. He used a different 90s R word. So that's number 2. And not only is that number 2 for the show, that's number 2 for McGurk.
McGurk the jerk.
McGurk has 2 for 2 on slurs.
I think, yeah. And again, God damn it. It comes so out of nowhere. I heard a reaction and I completely understand. Again, is this McGurk being that caricature of this douchebag that calls kids this? It's
Yeah. I don't think McGurk has many redeeming qualities at this point. Obviously, he's hilarious, but it's because he's a horrible person.
right.
Him bringing beer to a children's party is fucking funny, but like you'd have a conversation with that guy. And my favorite thing about that interaction was that he said the radical word, and I looked over at Tim, and he had this, like, he was just shaking his head. Not like I disagree with it, because obviously you do, but it's like you were disappointed in this character that you find so beloved. It's just like...
And especially, and like obviously we'll get into it in a little bit, I really like this episode.
Yeah.
I really like this episode.
It is a really, this is the most fun episode I've had in a couple of, like, the last couple of episodes we've done.
Absolutely. Yeah. We get a quick scene back at the hotel with Ken Adelberg. He's telling everyone he got to report 3 kids matching the description of the missing kids were seen over at the coffee shop next door. Almost simultaneously, Paula and Mr. Lynch are like, what? And that's when he kind of explains again, slower, the kids are next door at the coffee shop. So Paula thanks him profusely and even gives him a hug. And he kind of like pats her back and he says, okay, everything's going to be okay. So we bounce back to the coffee shop real quick. The woman who is asking for coffee, Coach is like, I'm going to be honest. I have no idea what you just ordered. Brendan again is asking if he can use the washroom. Clarice is telling him washroom is for customers only.
There's a character there that reminded me slightly of Daria, and I don't know if
that's the one who was she the one who ordered the coffee?
Yeah. I don't know if that was like a straight reference or what, but like
when was Daria on TV?
It's like it had to be around that time.
I feel like around that time or earlier because that was like the Beavis and Butthead time.
Yeah.
So yeah. It could be a reference to maybe one of the crew or one of the cast. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? So Clarice says the bathroom is for customers only. Brendan explains that he can't drink coffee because he's a kid, and if he does, he'll just have to pee more. So Jason tells Brendan they should probably just start shooting, and Clarice yells like, start shooting, it's a robbery! Coach asks Brendan what's going on, and Brendan explains that they want to film the final scene of the movie at the coffee shop, but first he has to pee. So Coach kind of defuses the situation, explains to Clarice that they're filming a movie. And that's when Paula shows up and says, Brendan! And I love it because both Brendan and McGurk are like, yeah, at the same time. Like, they both respond to her. So she hugs Brendan and she's like, I'm glad you're okay. And Clarice is like, who is that? And McGurk has to be like, my mother.
I thought it was going to turn into like Paula, like the whole lie reveal trope again between Paula and Brendan.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny because Mr. Lynch explains to Brendan, you can't leave the group. You're going to have to be punished. Paula says she was worried, gives him a huge hug. Brendan's worried he's going to piss himself. He warns her hey, I've really got to pee and you're pushing on my bladder. Paula tells Brendan she was very worried. Brendan does sincerely apologize to his mom. Mr. Lynch sees Coach McGurk and he makes a comment, I didn't know you work here, but he used Coach's name. Then I think at one point Ken points out that, oh, that's the guy I threw out last week.
Several times, I think he said.
So, I mean, it's just chaos, right? So Melissa, again, asked McGurk why his name tag says Brendan. And now after the 15th fucking time of somebody calling him Coach or McGurk or whatever, Clarice is like, hey, wait a minute. Your name's not Brendan. You lied. I'm going to tell.
And your name's not Little Mama.
That's fair.
So all this chaos ensues. Brendan screaming, I gotta pee. Everybody's talking at once. It's just absolute chaos.
At one point, McGurk is like, lady, you're not getting coffee.
Yeah, exactly. So we're final scene. We are in the bus ride home. So we kind of bounce between a couple seats. We start with Paula and Mr. Lynch. It's so funny. Paula has a cup of coffee in her hand. Mr. Lynch is wearing a Galaxy coffee hat. It seems like once the field trip wrapped up in the coffee shop, Walter and Perry have the, what is it, the Bruschetti or whatever, the little...
Biscotti,
yeah.
Thanks, Google.
Some of them are wearing Galaxy coffee shirts. Some of them have a cup of coffee. So it seems like the field trip just kind of wrapped up in Galaxy coffee and they're like, all right, whatever. Let's buy a couple souvenirs. Let's get the fuck out of here.
That should have been where the field trip was, because that's the most appealing one.
For real.
Yeah.
You went to a random hotel downtown.
Yeah, real educational.
So Paula's on her cell phone, and she informs Mr. Lynch that they found Allison. She's at the airport. She's fine. We pan over to Walter and Perry. Perry is waking up from a nap, and he asks Walter if he was watching him sleep. And Walter's like, yeah, you look beautiful when you sleep.
It's so cute.
Watch me now.
Watch me now. They both shut their eyes, but secretly low key have one eye open on each other.
They're an actual wholesome relationship to watch.
Yeah.
Oh, we stand Walter and Perry.
Absolutely.
So we cut over now to Jason and Melissa sitting together.
They were getting along.
They were getting along. They were in a good conversation. Yeah. It was funny because Melissa's like, I knew we were going to get in trouble. And Jason's like, yeah, but we did have fun. Melissa kind of laughs and she's like, oh man, you should have seen your face when we got busted. You were like, ah. And Jason's like, oh, that's me, all right. And then he's kind of he does the same thing back and he's like, oh my God, you were like, and then you're like, and then you're like, bro. And at one point he's like, and then you were just and then he just stares at her. To the point where Melissa's like, yeah. I'm going to look out of the window for a while.
Then he does his new thing that I've just realized he's doing, where he puts it over his arms over his head.
I think Jason and Melissa are becoming friends.
Slowly but surely.
Yes. And so finally now we pan back over to Coach and Brendan sitting in the back. Brendan is decked out in Galaxy coffee. He's got a shirt and
a
bunch of stuff. So they're just kind of sitting there. Coach kind of quietly is like, yep. Brendan's like, yeah. One of them clears their throat and they're like, huh? What? You say something? Brendan's like, nope.
This ending was so weird. Weirder than any ending I've ever seen.
It's so weird because it does follow their ending type of all right, just wrap it up and get out of there. But then also the last conversation is just such a weird, huh? What, did you say something? No. Oh, yeah. Okay.
It's such an awkward exchange between the two of them, which normally doesn't happen with those two characters. They usually have some kind of repartee, but this awkward looking out the window and not really wanting to talk to each other. Not sure what that's all about. If it has to do with the fact that he stole Brendan's identity or...
Yeah, I don't know. It could be. Brendan might be a little weirded out about that.
Yeah.
I think there's a disconnect sometimes when you write a script versus the animation. Because in the script, the way that you read a script is so much different because you see the way that this word means this word and then this is connected to this and whatnot. So the fact that Coach stole Brendan's identity for the entire run, so he's Brendan Smalls, and then at the end, I'm sure in the script it was the two Brendan Smalls sitting together and just
right.
living in that. I feel like the script had something along those lines in it, but then it just didn't really. it didn't hit you as strong as it would if you read it in a script.
Yeah.
But I think that's kind of what they were going for.
Yeah.
It did end really weirdly, but it didn't end as weirdly as the Fenton party scene did when
there was still weird music with this one too,
Yeah.
though. Maybe it's just any Fenton episode that's got a weird, awkward ending.
Yeah, this was definitely a weird peter out kind of ending instead of a bam or end it with a good joke or save some for me. It was just very huh? What? Did you say something? No, I didn't say anything. Did you say something? No. Oh.
It reminded me of The Graduate a little bit, the way that The Graduate ends.
Never saw it.
Tim, have you ever seen The Graduate?
No.
It ends with a couple on a bus, and they are laughing for a long time, but the camera stays on them for the entirety of their laugh. And so finally the laugh disappears, and they're just kind of sitting there in silence, and you just watch it, and it's very uncomfortable. And that's what I thought it was in the back of the bus here. I thought that was kind of maybe a reference there.
Listen, honestly, it could be.
Yeah.
Besides Brendan's own movies in the show being very referential at times, the movie posters in Jason's bedroom, for example, so they are referential. They do reference a lot of stuff. But the show itself is also very referential.
Oh, yeah.
So for you to explain that and say, well, maybe that was it very well could have been a reference.
I mean, just the Men in Black seats earlier.
Yeah.
It could have been hey, how are we going to end this episode? You want to do a Graduate episode? Yeah, let's just do that. Let's do that.
Yeah.
So who knows? But that is officially the end of Season 2, Episode 9, Class Trip. Like I said, I really enjoyed this episode. I had fun with this episode. We did have a little bit of an ABC plot, right? But because literal vicinity-wise, it was 2 places right next door, we were so easily bouncing back and forth. With an A, B, and C, maybe because of physical closeness to each other, I just felt it worked really well. It was a really good weave of the stories, and I enjoyed it very much.
Yeah, it was a good time. Lots of laughs. I feel like it was definitely a nice palate cleanser after all the Linda episodes.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I was glad to not see Linda or his dad in this episode, low key.
I'm very much with that. I think it was a really good palate cleanser, especially, not to say we've been on a bad streak or anything, but the episodes just have not been as as funny. They've been following a specific plot, watching Paula get fired and going through all of the stuff that she's been going through. I'm invested in these characters now. Now I just want to see their shenanigans. And
Absolutely.
now there's kids going and doing the guerrilla filmmaking in a hotel, and Fenton's getting getting what he deserves to have.
Yeah.
I really liked this episode because I have been so annoyed with Ken Adelberg, or that's his full name, Ken Adelberg, right? Okay.
Yes.
I've been annoyed whenever he shows up because he seems like the writer's I don't know what to do. Here's Ken Adelberg. Throw him at the fucking audience. Here he is. But now he has some bit of personality, like in The Simpsons with the one character who has all those jobs that you see, and you form a certain bond and chemistry with him. I didn't have any bond with Ken. I found him just he's just kind of a nothing. But here he's becoming more and more fun and more loving as oh, you're a funny guy. I like you. You're cool. And then he
was definitely more involved in this episode than he has in past episodes, so we got to see a lot more of him.
He hugged Paula and told her it was going to be all right.
Yeah.
And then he, listen here, you little punk.
Oh, getting in Fenton's face. I love that.
Oh, yeah.
I love giving him a noogie. That
Yeah.
was really funny. In commentary for a couple episodes ago, last episode, they mentioned that Season 2, the whole point of Season 2 was to open up the world, introduce more characters. Your Ken Adelbergs, Fenton, Mr. Lindenson. For what it's worth, Season 2 is about expansion, getting some more world lore, getting some more characters, and helping set up, like you said, a point where, okay, I'm here, I'm invested in these characters, let the shenanigans begin. Let's go.
That's what I was expecting from the Fenton party, where all of these different characters are here, and now we can kind of and let them go and see what happens with them. And they didn't really do anything. They just kind of focused on the small characters again. Yeah. But here we see Walter and Perry just going off, and I'm sure if their opportunity arose, Allison could come back at some point.
Oh, yeah.
And we just see just seeing Jason and Melissa have a conversation alone without Brendan was really fun.
Yeah.
I'm glad we had that as well.
Paula and Mr. Lynch was a good dynamic, and then just McGurk by himself. He's just what happens when all the kids are gone and McGurk's just having to live life that was really fun to watch.
I agree. I think this was a really fun episode. I enjoyed it immensely. Yeah, it was really good. Clarice coming back.
Really?
Yeesh.
Interesting.
Yep.
intense 18-year-old. Oh no, don't tell me. But like, I just had I guess I had a premonition, like it was Final Destination. But I won't push for that question.
Okay.
All right. Well, I just want to say if she ends up with McGurk, I'm going to be pissed.
No.
I'm going to
That was
spit
my
fire.
that was my premonition. I was like, what about Fence Mom? She's so sweet and age appropriate.
Yeah. I will say I really enjoyed this episode, and I guess the only kind of bad taste in my mouth this episode is McGurk. McGurk for on 2 levels. The 18 comment, not a fan of that. I could never get involved with a coworker. Plus, how old are you? 18. I could potentially get involved with a coworker.
Creep coded.
It's just like Linda to me, because like he says something like, I couldn't do that with a coworker, and then like, okay, so you have the semblance of an idea of how respect works, and then the second the door opens, he's like, fuck it, throw it out the window, I'm so alone, god damn it. Fucking, yeah.
Not a fan. Yeah.
Nah, not a fan.
So,
and then he
Go ahead.
slurred it up.
yeah. Radical.
And he stole three counts, and he stole a child's identity.
There you go. It's so funny that was like the one we were willing to like not even look at.
Oh, Brendan's cool for it. Like he went to identify a body with me. He's like, listen, I'm cool. I bet if McGurk was like, listen, I just need your name and your social identification for a couple of weeks. All right, Brendan.
I don't know if Brendan was okay with it. He seemed pretty...
He'd be like, ask your mom. Like, pretend I'm your mom. All right, and ask me. Yes. Okay, it's not that hard, Brendan.
That's what's wrong with this country. Nobody asks anymore. All right. Do we want to do Jason Grade Foist?
Yes, Jason was... This was an episode with Jason where I was like, okay, Jason's here. He's going to say something funny, and he says something funny, and I enjoyed watching Jason this episode. And here's where I want to stand on it, because, listen... Door opens. Uh-oh, Jason's on the toilet. Like, oh, give me some more TP. Like, gross. However,
It could have been grosser.
It could have been grosser. It was a fun episode, and I want that to be known that I'm not just going to look for the gross stuff of Jason and then take it against him. It was just, in my head, it's like, why'd you get in the fucking toilet?
I don't know why. Maybe I took that as like oh shit, I don't want to get in trouble here. Oh, no, I was just in here using the bathroom. I don't know what the fuck. And even the way he reacts, like, whoa, 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 whoa.
He had the fucking magnifying.
Read the newspaper with the magnifying glass.
He put it back down. Like, it was very funny. And I'm not holding him being quote ungross.
Quote ungross. Same.
But I found him really funny. My favorite line from his is just the mystery hotel. As his camera zoomed down on his face, I gave him an A.
Hell
yeah.
Especially
well deserved.
Especially the conversation he had with Melissa at the end. Like, he was being very respectful and just like having it like good.
Yeah.
There's a good Jason episode.
And like I brought up last episode, Jason's a great actor. He was Queen of Diamonds' dad. He was the bellhop. He was the private eye. He crushed every one of those roles.
Yep.
In the den?
In the den?
In the den? I think that's a very, very well-deserved A on Jason's part.
Absolutely.
I think this is a great Jason episode. We'd love to see it. So, that being said, do we want to do episode grades? Who wants to go first?
I will. Me.
Okay.
Me. I feel like this was such a breath of fresh air for this episode. Mm-hmm. I laughed. It was entertaining. There were a couple hiccups with McGurk for sure, but when are there not? So I can't really, I can't even factor that into the grade at this point. So I'm gonna give it an A.
Yeah, just solid A.
I really liked it.
Very nice.
That's the palate cleanser episode. And I used to really not like to watch episodic things where just like it always comes back to the same place that it started in the beginning. I used to get really tired of those types of shows. But then watching the show with Cynthia, and then it ends on a cliffhanger. Like, will they ever like figure this out? And then we watching a show with his mom or his stepmom, and now his dad, and then we watch that twice, and it just like the story continues. And to have a nice plot where everything's fun. And everything's like goofy, and we get to see all these other characters that we've been introduced to. So why not let's use them now? And there's an actual episode where Melissa and Jason and Brendan are actually having goofs and shenanigans, and it's not just like focused on Brendan or like we see these characters in the background briefly. It was a really good episode. I gave it an A.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
Also, this is the first episode in a while where we actually get to see them filming a movie. Because
Yeah.
recently it's just been like, okay, here's the movie they already filmed. We're going to show it right away. And it's just going to get out of the way. And then the rest of the episode is just going to be storyline.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Especially because the ABC plot, I didn't want to see the ABC plot for the past couple of episodes because I was like, it's so much, it's all over the place. And I think you did Tim, you did a good description of why that is because the vicinity, because it all connects in some way and we all come together and we see where everything's leading versus other plots where they don't mesh at all.
Right.
Or they're all just like kind of ending with the characters we love down in the dumps, like Paula being fired and they're all lying and like McGurk is like, why were they an old hag like me?
Yeah.
So it's just nice seeing that here. And the A, B, and C plot did not feel like it was an A, B, and C plot.
Right.
It was all together.
They worked so well together, for sure. Well, I very much agree with a lot of you guys, what you guys said, why you gave it the grade that you gave it. I don't, man, that freaking radical word just really irks me. It was such a good episode and just that, and then like the weird 18-year-old comment and all that. I mean, I get it. I get the character of McGurk. I get the holding up a mirror. So I don't fault it because it's not like these actions are celebrated and encouraged and stuff like that. So other than that, it was such a good episode. I gave it an A-.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still in the A realm.
Absolutely.
Killed him.
I guess
No.
oh shit.
I'm joking.
And now I feel bad because between our 3 grades and Jason, I'm the only kind of contrarian with an A- versus everyone else's A's.
It's still an A in the A
Yeah, that's
category,
true.
though, so I wouldn't even consider you a contrarian. If you rated it a C and we rated it A's, then yeah.
And I would have been like,
C for contrarian.
I guess we'll watch the episode again and maybe I missed something. But it's just like when we all did the C's. It was still in the C range, but like we went through the whole spectrum of C.
Yeah. I agree. So yeah, no, I think I'm going to stand by my A-. I think it's definitely a solid A- episode.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else we'd like to add before we wrap it up?
No, I think this is just a really fun episode. I'm glad that I'm glad we ended with this.
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah. I think we got big strides for Jason and Melissa's relationship, and we got I love Walter and Perry so much. Such a big episode for Walter and Perry. They were just beginning to end the best. So fucking adorable. And like I said, realizing now that, them fucking with Fenton is a little bit of a runner. It just makes me kind of like him even more.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, kids, I think that's it. Let's jump into those sweet, sweet plugs.
Plug me up.
All right, Marcin, why don't you go first?
I'm reaching into my bag of infinite projects here. Currently, I'm working on the sequel to my RPG podcast / audio drama. It is Puzzle Valley, is the first season. When Penny Popular's murder is recorded and sent to everyone through Snapchat, a group of teens uncover the mysteries of Puzzle Valley, the uncertainty of their future, and the secrets of those closest to them. The sequel series we're working on right now with Adele is part of it. It's a prequel set in the year 2000, and it's already looking to be one hell of a high school teen detective story. It might be too early to give away the story for that one, but as for the core of what Puzzle Valley stands for, it's about the masks other people put on us, the weight it carries, and finding the strength to take them off. Puzzle Valley means a lot to me, so if you want to listen to it, you can find it under the Eldritch Journeys banner, wherever you find podcasts.
So sometimes I paint, sometimes I make things, and sometimes I post that on my Instagram, which is the Artisanal of Oddity. That is Artisanal of Oddity at www.instagram.com. And that's my plug.
And as always, this podcast is brought to you by the Happy Corner Podcast. They were nice enough to donate equipment to us so we could keep this podcast going. So we always want to give them a nice little shout out at the end. The Happy Corner Podcast streams every Sunday at 1:45 Central. And then you can get the audio version wherever you get your podcasts. That's going to do it for this episode of Rewatching Home Movies. Join us next week for Season 2, Episode 10, titled History. If you liked what you heard, check out our Linktree at Linktree/RHMpod. There you can like, follow, and subscribe. Send us an email or leave us a 5-star review. I will read 5-star reviews on the podcast. Thanks to Shannon Conway for the refresh of our logo and Chris Bongat for the use of our theme song. On behalf of myself, Tim, and my co-host Marcin and Adele, thank you for rewatching home movies with us. We'll see you next week. Bye.